Welcome to Global Connections on ThinkTech Hawaii. I'm your host, Jay Fidell. Today we'll talk about Trump and how he eviscerated Zelensky and what exactly was the point of all of that. Our guest for the show is Dr. Roopmati Khandekar, geopolitical analyst. Welcome to the show, Roopmati.
Hello, Jay. Thank you for having me on your show. Always my pleasure.
You know, without U.S. support, Ukraine will undoubtedly fall short in dealing with the attack, the invasion by Russia. And Russia, thanks to Trump, has a clear path to victory now. Trump talks peace, but he's not acting like that. Ukraine is defiant, but they may not have the resources. Russia is very likely to win this game. Can it get any more complicated than this? Let's talk about what happened on that fateful Friday meeting in the Oval Office. Let's talk about, analyzing it in retrospect and in prospect to see how it affected things and how it is still affecting things. So let me ask you, what was the run-up to that meeting? If we watched the run-up carefully, we might have seen what Trump was going to do, that is ambush Zelensky. Through Vance and Musk and Hegseth, he gave away points of the negotiation in advance. He gave away the borders and he gave away NATO, those points. And he was making demands for rare earth materials without giving any confidence at all in guarantees for security. And that's really important. So the question is, as we had that meeting in the Oval Office in front of the world to see, live television for the whole world to watch, how had Trump set it up?
Jay, 11 days ago, we saw one of the most explosive bilaterals that we've ever seen on TV. It was like a Showtime, was it primetime drama or something like that. I couldn't believe that it's actual politics going on in the White House, all this going on. So let's take just this one pitch back, that Zelensky was the one who had floated the idea around last year that would guarantee US access to the natural resources as a joint investment of Ukraine and Ukraine and America to secure wartime assistance for them. And just as Trump wins, and Trump wants Ukraine to use this revenue from the resources to repay the $500 billion loan, and Zelensky does not want to do that. So he's from the door, he's been said that he's come to sign the agreement. And as soon as the meeting starts, Trump lays down the line that after this meeting, we are going to have the signing of the agreement and lunch, and he sets the agenda. But Zelensky's contention point is security guarantees. What guarantees does Ukraine have? And Trump's entire argument is that when American businesses and American interests take over the mineral sources in Ukraine, they will automatically be American-based, interests, and Russia would never dare to attack them. So that's the argument that Trump is putting forward. But for Zelensky is giving up his country's resources. And Trump, like a businessman, has set this up, saying that what can we use from Ukraine now to get back our money, which we have given without any guarantee? Okay, they've got rare earth, which we can use in different places. So let's take that. So, Jay, it's like a head-on take on between these two. But Zelensky, like you said, he was cornered in this meeting. He did not have any option. There were things which were happening in such an order that he could not fathom what is coming next. And it spiraled from nothing to all this in a matter of moments, Jay. It started from his suit. Why don't you wear a suit? And, Trump started with this suit thing at the doorstep itself. He said, good to see you in these clothes. And, in international politics, where the color of a tie makes a difference to what kind of talk which will go on. You have a president who comes in wartime combat clothes, it doesn't make a good impression, and Trump spelled that out. Now, Ukraine's take on that is that because he's fighting a war, because his people are dying on the ground, he's a perpetual soldier, and so he wears his combat uniform. It's not aggression. So, two different sides of the coin. And you see Vance also coming, head on with his remarks. They're trying to corner Zelensky in such a way because they wanted him to sign the deal, and he refused to sign the deal without security guarantees. So it was a head-on tussle between them, Jay. And if you have to take it one step back, Jay, that Trump mentor was never a businessman. He was Roy Cohn, a lawyer who was McCarthy's chief counsel in the 1950s, Jay. And in the 1970s, 80s, he became Trump's chief mentor, and he schooled Trump in media warfare and power dynamics. He taught him that you should have to court publicity and to strike back at critics and never show weaknesses. So he taught Trump three golden rules: attack first, never admit defeat, and never apologize. So this kind of gives you a peek into what kind of Trump's attitude is towards politics, towards life itself. Because there was an article in Washington Post in the 60s that the man who showed Trump how to exploit power and instill fear. And this was exactly what he was doing to Zelensky. Zelensky didn't know the language. Zelensky was struggling with body language. He was struggling with the deal. He was struggling with, and throughout this war with Russia from 2022, he's always kept that Ukraine will win. Ukraine will defeat Russia. And here Trump tells him Ukraine can never win. And he was like, he kept quiet for a moment. So it was like a deer in headlights. Jay, he was not allowed to recuperate and strike back. He was just put one on top of the other. The combat came and he kept on sinking fast. That was the entire bilateral that took place in the Oval Office.
Well, all things considered, Roopmati, including the whole physical setup, as a businessman who's been in a lot of closings, and actually, from a lawyer's point of view, the shape of the room, the shape of the table, who's there, the presence of the media, all of these things are pre-planned, and Trump is a master at that sort of thing. And so he arranges it for cameras, lots of cameras. The room was filled with people. He had his Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, there. He had Vance there next to him. I mean, he was loaded for bear. And so I don't know. I don't think that Zelensky appreciated this, how he was being set up. And it does suggest an ambush. The other side of this, and I would like your opinion about it, the other side of this is that I think there are a number of intentions in play here. Number one is he wanted to, as you said, he wanted to do a power play, power dynamics. He does that with everybody. That's what he does, including his famous handshake, if you remember. He draws the person into him. That's one thing. The other thing is he wanted Zelensky to sign the deal, and he was setting this up so that there would really be no negotiation at all. It would just be a press thing, a media thing before, during, and after the signing. And Zelensky would not have a chance to say anything, and he would not have a chance to object for the lack of the security guarantee. That's, one thing. Another thing is Trump obviously is on a tear over Zelensky. And I think per Putin's suggestion, he wants regime change. Remember, leading up to this meeting, Trump was suggesting, why don't you have an election in the middle of a war, right? Have an election, why don't you? Suggesting that Zelensky had to be set aside, that he couldn't be, the president of Ukraine anymore. And so he was, one intention here is that Trump wanted to embarrass him. He wanted to, go down the road of regime change, make him look so bad that the world would react by saying, he shouldn't be there. Sort of like what happened with Biden at the debate. Embarrass him, stupefy him so that he couldn't respond. And they sure tried to overtalk him, as you mentioned. Talk on top of him. He couldn't get a word in edgewise. Even, especially with the fact that he doesn't speak English that well. So all of these things, suggest to me that it's a combination of a setup in general for power dynamics, that he wanted to embarrass him. He wanted to have the Ukrainian people lose confidence in him, have Europe lose confidence in him, achieve a regime change. And finally, just as a matter of, closing strategy, he wanted to bypass any discussion, overcome Zelensky with other stuff so that there would never be a substantive discussion. What I thought was really strange, though, is Trump justified his attack, his evisceration, on two pieces. One is that Zelensky wasn't thankful, which is absolutely ridiculous to anybody who's been following this in any media. He's been thanking everyone in the United States every time he appears. Some newscaster reported that 33 public speeches, and Zelensky was, deeply, deeply appreciative and expressing it. And the other thing is that Trump said a number of times he said Zelensky was not respectful. And so what is that? I was looking, I didn't see anything that suggested a lack of respect. That was just Trump, coming up with stuff, try to embarrass him and insult him and humiliate him, which he has done before. So your thoughts about what motivated Trump to do this evisceration of Zelensky and actually throw him out of the White House?
Jay, he was literally thrown out without lunch. And the Ukrainian ambassador, who was the mediator for this relation between Ukraine and America, had her head, hands in her head, head in her hands. So, but Jay, Trump showed it as if he was doing it for the American people, that Zelensky was not grateful for what the American people were doing for him. Zelensky was not thankful for what America has done for him. He wanted at one stage Zelensky to choose who does more for him, America or Ukraine. And Trump says that America does more for Ukraine, and Zelensky is like, no. Trump says yes, say yes, and Zelensky refuses to say yes, that Europe does more, like less than America. So he's trying to bring out those sides of him that he would never bring out in the open. Zelensky has to play this balancing game between Europe and America, because these are two people who are keeping him alive, and he needed not to choose. And Trump was making him choose make these statements, and he was not making it because he was nervous. And the entire agenda of this meeting was, Jay, sign the deal. It was a business office that Zelensky had entered, and rather not the Oval Office. Trump tries to make Zelensky choose between America and Europe. He tries to make him say that who has done more for you? Has America done more? Europe done more? And Zelensky refuses to say. He says, no, Europe has also done more. But Trump tries to bring out this 3-4 times he makes him say, but Zelensky does not commit to that. And Jay, it was like Zelensky has entered a business room office rather than the Oval Office. Trump was just focused on getting him to sign that deal, because the rare earths deal is like an achievement for Trump, because he is now flabbergasted by the fact that America was the one who gave money without any guarantees, and Europe was the smart player who has given the money for Ukraine, but taken guarantees as a loan. So that point hurts Trump, because he always thinks of it as a profit and loss. How much do I get? How much does America get? These things are the ones that he needs to show the balance sheet, liabilities and assets. And in that, this assistance to Zelensky is not fitting in. So by saying that you're not grateful, you're not appreciative, okay, if you're appreciative, sign the deal. It's that kind of pressure that they're putting on him. And he wants to highlight this as a mistake of Biden, that Biden gave it as a loan without any guarantee. And I'm the one who's getting these guarantees of rare earth, which are useful for our economy. And we are going to be able to, get something out of Ukraine, out of this entire system. So that's the maneuvering, Jade, that happened.
Yeah, he also lied. He said, that the United States had provided $350 billion of aid. And that figure was, is at least 3 times the real number. And then, of course, the real number is largely spent in the United States. And I read most recently that, in fact, the weapons that Joe Biden was sending were obsolete weapons. They were old weapons. They were not cutting edge weapons. So the whole thing was a sort of a limp contribution to Ukraine. And of course, Biden didn't want them to have the fighter jets, and he didn't want them to go into Russia and all that. He was being very, very, what shall I say, reserved about the aid he was giving. So Trump really exaggerated that by multiples. And it's very interesting how he can lie on the moment, on the turn of the dime. He can lie about anything. So, okay, how important is the security agreement? He was apparently willing to enter into the agreement for the rare earth, but he was not willing to withdraw his insistence on the security agreement. I mean, it struck me, I'd be interested in your thoughts on this. It struck me that the security agreement from the United States through Trump isn't really worth the paper, because, in fact, Trump is not reliable. He's shown that so many times, and he still shows it almost every day. He shows not only does he lie, but he breaks agreements. And so I didn't, frankly, understand why Zelensky was insistent about that point when it's clear that a guarantee from Trump is meaningless. Your thoughts?
Yeah, Jay. So little back on that the global defense spending today stands at $2.46 trillion. That's the highest ever record that is broken. And Jay, the US has committed 123.5 billion and given 118 billion, while Europe has just committed 120 billion and given only half of that, 50.8 billion only. So this kind of money that the US has spent on Ukraine was without a guarantee. And this notion of come into business dealing with us, or come into mutual investment in Ukraine, was Zelensky's idea last year when Biden was the president. And maybe he must have underestimated Biden to, wiggle a way out of it. But when Trump comes in and he says that money will be used to repay, your share will be used to repay what you have already taken, that becomes a losing game for Zelensky, and he refuses to come out. But it was Zelensky's idea to come up with this, that you come into the rare earths, mutual trade with us. So, and Trump has set it up in such a way that, like I said, that they would come in and have American interests in Ukraine. And he believes, he trusts Russia, that Russia will not attack American interests. Jay, in this entire scenario, you see that Trump is giving a little bit of more of an inclination towards Putin rather than Zelensky. He does not trust Zelensky as much as he trusts Putin. And the reason for that is their past dealing with each other. They have a history. And with Zelensky, he does not have a history. He does not want to have a history, because he's portraying Zelensky as a person who is cheating American people. And Zelensky, in a matter of, in a fumble, once he leaves America, he goes on the stage with European leaders. Now, Jay, in geopolitics, you cannot equate entire Europe with America. The amount of help, assistance that America gives, the amount of support that America gives is more than double of what Europe as a whole would give Ukraine. So trying to show that even if you're not with me, I have Europe with me. And if NATO is not coming in, he holds a meeting in Kiev saying that we'll form, I'm providing you the logistics to form a European contingent on the ground to fight Russia. So he's forming a alternative to NATO. That is also wrong, Jay. So the aggressiveness on Zelensky's part is that he tries to defy America. He cannot underestimate the kind of assistance that America gives, and the stature that America holds in geopolitics is different. We have always spoken through our shows that Europe is spineless in its decisions. It has taken wrong decisions on immigration, on economics, on security issues, and today they want, to rearm Europe. Ursula von der Leyen wants to rearm Europe, and Europe wants to enter arms race, and Europe wants to provide a Iron Dome kind of a security. This it doesn't happen. Israel is a small state. It is surrounded on 7-9 fronts by terrorists, so it needs this security dome. Who does Europe want to protect itself from with a security dome? So that is unnecessary spending. And by putting Europe in a state of emergency, Jay, she has put in liability of around $850 billion on Europe. They need to fight these small issues which are going to become big problems, like immigration, like strengthening economics, not into military spending. America was the one who was providing Europe with the security blanket free of cost through NATO. And Jay, like it or not, you cannot underestimate this contribution of America to Europe as an ally. And America has always been non-indulgent in active politics. Still, you come and hurt it. The Pearl Harbor was something like that. They didn't want to enter the World War till Pearl Harbor was done. So they wait and watch. If you need, they will help. As an ally, it's one of the best countries to have. Example, Israel. So you have an ally across 2 seas who comes to help you at every hurtful point. So trust that America maintains is noteworthy, Jay. But you can't come out of the Oval Office and go into European politics and equate that kind of a thing. And especially when you're dealing with a president like Trump, he will highlight this point to such an, what did he do? He cut off the intelligence, he cut off military spending, he bought Zelensky to such a delicate position that Zelensky issued a statement that we are ready to come to sign the deal. We are ready to come for the peace talk. And peace talk is going to be secondary always. The deal is going to come first. He's a businessman.
He's a terrible businessman. Can you think of a single deal that he actually made? You know, we'll make peace in Ukraine on day one. We'll make peace in Israel on day one. He hasn't, he's into, several weeks already, almost 2 months, and he hasn't made peace anywhere. In fact, he's exacerbated things with harebrained schemes like the Riviera. This is not America. You say America has done this, and America has been, a saving grace in the world in the 20th century, anyway. But it's Trump. This is all Trump. It's personal. It's personal ego. A decent negotiator would have found a way back to a rational discussion instead of insulting a chief of state in front of the world that way. He never intended to make a deal for a security agreement. He just wanted to push this guy around. And he did that. And he continued to do that afterward by withdrawing intelligence. That was so outrageous. And that includes, I think that includes Elon Musk's satellite system. Yeah, Starlink. So they have done everything they can to handicap Ukraine, everything. There's nothing now that they're providing to Ukraine. And Zelensky has said, as you mentioned, he has said, I'm willing, I'm ready. You wanted me to, tell you when I was ready. I'm ready. Okay, let's go back. But Trump has essentially ignored that. And so here we are, trying to figure out how to resurrect, how to put Humpty back together again. And I don't think that from the time they began, insulting him till the end of that meeting when he was thrown out of the White House, that Zelensky had any real options. What's he going to do? He's going to kiss the ring. He wasn't going to do that. He's a leader of state. No leader of state would do that. Not any country in the world would do that in public, in front of the world. So, okay, he leaves, he goes back, he tries to do, plan B with Europe. And I agree with you. It's not likely that Europe will actually be able to help him in any meaningful way, not with security guarantees, not with money, not with weapons. It's really rhetoric is what it is. And it's nice. It's nice that Europe takes the moral position, but it probably won't work with Putin because Putin has stepped up his attacks on Ukraine in the last few days. He's been attacking in every way he can. And Trump makes this remarkable statement about how he's considering new sanctions on Putin. The old sanctions haven't worked all that well. And when Trump says he's considering something, he's considering his options, his open options. And he hasn't done anything. He hasn't imposed sanctions on Ukraine. He hasn't imposed sanctions on Russia. So it's clear that was just for talk. And it's clear that he's switched sides, changed American policy. And there are people in this country that would listen to him and do listen to him when he changes on a dime that way. So I'm worried about Ukraine, really profoundly worried. I've always been worried about Ukraine. It's not really in a good position at all now. It's worse now because of what Trump has done. So my question to you is the most difficult question of the day, Roopmati. What's going to happen now?
Jay, it's going to be tough for Ukraine because you have Trump saying you cannot win, and you have Marco Rubio going to Saudi saying that Ukraine, the peace talks start with Ukraine surrendering what Russia has taken from them. So they lose their land, first instance. Secondly, they're on a back foot when they start the negotiations. Thirdly, they have the axe of the mineral deal hanging on their neck. Fourthly, they're dealing with a fraternity kind of, that bullying that thing happens when you go into college with the seniors trying to drag you. It's like that when you enter the Oval Office. You have all of them waiting to pounce on you. So going back into that Oval Office, Zelensky is going to have a tough time. He's going to negotiate over Twitter in Saudi Arabia, anywhere far, far away from Trump's playground, Jay. And he will never want to come back over there because it was undiplomatic in every sort of the way. It was something like, just do what I say. And exactly that has happened. And there has been talk of them talking to the opposition leaders, like you said, for the regime change. So Zelensky is, the other options for him is like Russia is always planning an assassination on him. So Zelensky is in a catch-22, 44 situation. He does not know what to do, Jay, because he's cornered in such a way that the war is at its peak. They just had one of the most, I think, 371 drones which were fired yesterday into Russia from Ukraine. Means they have the zeal of fighting at its highest. But like you said, they don't have the resources. They don't have the backing up that they need. And how much do you back them up? That is a thing. And Russia, in this entire scenario, Jay, whatever happened, they are playing the happy watchers. They know that the deal is done for them. They have to accept whatever is, coming their way. They have they feared America. Till America was there, they never dared to come inside or have a head-on confrontation. They did not want the long-range missiles. They did not want to touch NATO territory. Never that kind of confrontation with America. And now with America out of the picture, Russia gets the upper hand. But of course, it's a giant that Ukraine is fighting, Jay.
Trump has withdrawn all assistance. Every kind of assistance he could withdraw, he's withdrawn. And his threat is very limp that he's going to consider additional sanctions. And I wonder if he's even going to make affirmative assistance for Russia from a rhetorical, from a press point of view, from a U.S. Public policy point of view. He has affirmatively helped Putin. So here we have the possibility that Ukraine will fail. I don't know how that would happen, but they would lose a lot of territory, maybe their whole country. There would be an end to Zelensky. There would be a puppet government, and essentially Putin would control the whole country. This is a real possibility, and I blame Trump for that, because it would be the end of democracy in Eastern Europe. And of course, he'll go after Poland. He'll go after the Baltics in no time at all, and the result will be similar. The Poles are very concerned about this, and so are the Baltics, and we should cover that. But here, my last question to you, and this is perhaps more difficult than my previous difficult question. What should Zelensky do?
Zelensky has to look at the map, Jay, and see that Putin had an interest in Ukraine from the beginning. And there's the great European plain that stretches across, Jay. And if Ukraine had joined NATO, NATO would have come right at the doorstep of Russia. So Ukraine has always been the strategic point of Russia, irrespective of Zelensky or anybody else. They wanted Ukraine to be neutral or not join the NATO. And Zelensky's biggest mistake was that he said he wanted to join NATO, which would bring NATO right at the doorstep of Russia. So there was a little bit of, political misjudgment that happened, and either to wait his way out till he became a mature politician or seasoned politician, or wait for Putin to fade away into politics, something like that. There would have been a little bit more thinking. It would have been a much better option than to go head on with Russia. And America has been an ally who had to be cherished in a way, because Europe is not very unified in its approach. You have the European Parliament shouting and debating the kind of aid that comes to Ukraine, or the kind of assistance that comes in. You have Melanie of Italy saying that she does not want Italian soldiers to come down into on the ground. So any war, you don't enter voluntary, but how you deal with it is very it speaks of your political acumen, Jay. And Zelensky fell a little bit short of that, because you see that he's really, really cornered in the White House. He's cornered. He's trying to please every leader. He's trying to get some, assistance wherever possible. He's trying to get military aid. He's trying to get people on his side. While fighting a domestic population, you're trying to urge the population to fight for you on the Russian front, which they refuse to. Anybody would. So he is in a fixed state, and he's fighting a losing battle. And that's where we have to see that Zelensky should also wait this out. And Trump is aggressive. And when offense is like the best form of defense, like he is going for it all out. He's sending Marco Rubio, he's talking Vance, he's talking Musk, he's talking everybody. Yeah, it's only Zelensky. He's single-handedly trying to deal with everything. You can't take too many things on your hand. He needs to delegate. He needs to either step back. Now, I think he doesn't have any choice left, because Trump has cornered him. The military aid and the intelligence were the eyes of Ukraine to fight this Russian battle. Without the US intelligence, it's very difficult to see. And so right now, this question is really difficult, because Zelensky does not know what to do, how much to do, and how much to, he fought with the zeal that he's going to win this war, win this war, win this war. Now there's a peace settlement for 30 days or something like that. And then what? It's going to be Russia's, what do you say that?
Yeah.
High-handedness all the way around.
If Putin is able to take Ukraine, he is not going to turn over the rare earth to the United States. He's going to keep it for himself. It's a strategic material. It's a war material in many ways. So I don't know if Trump is thinking clearly about that. This is not a test of Russia. We know what Russia wants to do. We know what Putin wants to do and what he will do. It's not a test of Ukraine anymore. I think Ukraine has lost options, as you said. It is a test of Europe. And Europe has failed many tests like this in the past. They can't get it together. And so the question is whether Europe, even with its limited resources, will be able to focus on this and actually put soldiers on the ground, provide money and weapons, and fill the gap. And that's where the tilt is, right there. And from this discussion, I'm not optimistic that Europe will be able to do that. Anyway, we're out of time. Thank you very much to our guest, Dr. Roopmati Khandekar, a geopolitical analyst. I'm Jay Fidell, host of Global Connections. We've been talking about how Trump has eviscerated and is eviscerating Zelensky. Thanks to our viewers for watching. We'll see you again soon for the next one. Aloha.
Aloha, Jay. Thank you very much.